It's that pressure time in the year, Brad, when March Madness is upon us. And oh, the pressure mounts for the teams that are trying to get in the tournament and the bettors that are trying to make some last-minute money before March Madness begins. I can never get enough David Bowie right now.
Now, this is it. Well, that's Queen, but yeah, that sounds good.
Well, he's there.
I tell you
Part
what,
of it.
we got a lot of different times of the year that we watch sports and play a little action, but the tournament is my favorite time of the year, no doubt, hands down. I mean, it's that opening weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't even talk to my wife. I don't talk to her a lot to begin with, but that weekend she
No.
gets no power time with me, man.
None at all. So welcome in, everyone, to Let's Talk More Action, your March Madness editions of Let's Talk More Action. We can be seen at letstalkmoreaction.live. We are also now making our way to YouTube at Let's Talk More Action, and we are on TikTok at Let's More Action. Let's Talk More Action. No, we always want action. It's too much Let's Talk More Action, but we're on Let's Talk More Action 1 on TikTok. So anyways, now we've got all that out of the way. A little overwhelming as we're watching this Illinois game. We both live in the state of Illinois. I'm more of a Badger fan than an Illinois fan, but Brad, you bleed the orange.
You?
I'm going to actually start the show here because I actually have found a team that might make some noise in March that people aren't paying much attention to, and I have glammed on to Illinois, but tonight, Purdue seems to be a little more than they were asking for.
Yeah, we'll see here in the second half. I mean, it's a 2-point game, and like Illinois, they are as streaky as they come. They are Jekyll and Hyde from the 3-point line. If they're hitting the threes, they can beat anybody in the nation. If they're missing 10 in a row like they did in parts of that half, they look like a bad MAC team. But I'll tell you right now, they got talent. It's just
Northern Illinois is like 5-22.
Yeah. I'm just saying they're so frustrating because at times, man, they are bombing away, hitting the threes, driving the lane. They look like a great team. And then other times I'm hyping them, And then my kid always brings me back down to earth. He'll be like texting me, Illinois missed their last 13 3-pointers in a row. And I mean, you can't argue with that. What do I say to that? If the three, I just wish that Underwood once in a while would get a timeout, get him in the huddle and be like, hey, the three ain't going, baby. Let's drive to the hoop. But he says, I let them keep shooting because they're such a good shooting team. Well, I mean, sometimes I don't know. I'm not riding with that.
Well, Boswell came from Arizona. Here's what we're going to do, just so you guys all know as we get into the show. This is our feature March Madness broadcast to get things started. We're planning on now doing a lot of content, kicking out a lot of content for March Madness. As Brad said, this is like the most exciting time of year for him and I. We're going to have some other guests on the show. Next week starts the conference tournaments for like Big Ten, ACC, SEC, so it's the major conference tournaments. So what we're trying to do tonight is we're going to give you 2 games that you need to watch this weekend leading up to the conference tournaments and 2 plays that you want to make. That doesn't look good when the guy goes red behind me, but 2 plays you want to make as a bettor this weekend. So that's kind of the structure of the show. This podcast is going to be short, like 20 minutes, but this is kind of just to reintroduce ourselves, ramp it back up. So I'm your host, Trevor Lutke. This is Brad Shoulders to get that out of the way as we start talking about Illinois. And I was right. I haven't really been paying much attention to this because they are terrible. But to your point, Northern Illinois is 5-25, and they are 1-16 in the MAC. They are 20 minutes from his house, 20 minutes from my house. You couldn't pay me to go watch that team play. But in the meantime, Illinois, Boswell can shoot it. Ivisic can rebound it. Yaki Jonas he's all around. I do think this Illinois team features some depth, and I do think they can actually reach the Sweet 16 if the shots fall.
Yeah. And if they get Johnson, their backup freshman center back, he broke his wrist. He's been in a cast.
Yeah.
He got out of the cast. I mean, when they don't have him to back up Ivisic, they're in trouble because then they go to Humringhouse and he's not a center, but he'll man it up as much as he can. But you got to get Morris Johnson back in there because they're a different team when he's backing them up. He looks good. He runs the court well. He blocks shots. He doesn't shoot from the outside or anything like Ivisic does, but he gives you a lot of physical presence down low. And they say he might be back for the Big Ten tournament, so we'll see.
I mean, that's a tough injury. What do you do again? I mean, broke his hand, right?
He broke his wrist, but he had I think it was just like a hairline fracture. He'd been in a cast, but
Okay.
somebody on the internet came up with some kind of like cast that you could see through, and they've been running all kinds of, I don't know, they got all kinds of medical techniques down at U of I, and they got his cast
Right.
off. They said he may be back by the tournament. We'll see, man. I
Okay.
don't
Well,
know.
let's get into this. Let's not leave the audience waiting for more. We've talked enough about Illinois basketball. We got to get into a couple games that are must-watch games. I mean, this is a huge weekend, Brad. Like this, I looked at this schedule this weekend. So this content, how it's going to work basically throughout the rest of March Madness is we're going to post the content like this or we're going to do the content on a Friday, which we always do the shows live. So there's no redoing the shows. So we're already 6 minutes into this thing, but we're going to do the show live Friday night, and then the team of people we work with will post it immediately Saturday morning. So what we're going to do is we get into the conference tournament next week. The agenda would be like, because the games we don't always know, we would try to do something on Wednesday for the Thursday games. So Wednesday night, Thursday games, then late Thursday night to get to the Friday games. Friday night late, probably after Woodford Reserve or 2 or 3. I think we'll be together. Post the content for that for Saturday, and then roll into Championship Sunday. Same with March Madness. So this is going to be just keep checking. Let's Talk More Action on all these platforms from TikTok to YouTube to catch us, or Let's Talk More Action.live, because we're going to constantly try to be kicking out content. But this weekend is must watch college basketball to me. So you said there was a couple games that you thought in your mind were absolute go-to games. I'm going to start us off. The first one is 11 a.m. in the morning. I hope our guys have this content posted immediately tonight so people can start watching this tomorrow morning. Kentucky, Missouri is can't miss. In my opinion, this I think could be one of the most exciting games, probably the most exciting game of the weekend. It's only a 4.5-point line. I'm not going to bet it, but Kentucky has looked great over the last couple of weeks. And Missouri is an up-and-coming team. People have been talking about them in the Final Four. I definitely want to tune in to this game to watch these two teams go at it. And look at that over/under number, Brad. We love points. Points are fun.
It was
Almost
good.
a 170 total, man. This is going to be like some old school backyard drag it out basketball tomorrow between these two.
You nailed it on the head, and them top two games right there that you're showing on your screen, they were both must watch because I'm telling you, St. John's, to me, with Rick Pitino and his tourney resume and the way he's got them playing, I think they could make a strong run in the tournament. And that Missouri Kentucky game could easily go over that total. I mean, and Missouri at home, I was just reading something here before we came on. Kentucky is 0-6 at Columbia in their last 6 games against the spread. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to carry on. You
Wait,
know how
give me that stat one more time. Sorry, I'm going to have to plug in one thing. What are you saying again?
Kentucky is 0-6 in Missouri against the spread, their last 6 matchups there. Now whether they can keep that going, Mizzou or not, who knows? But this is one of Missouri's better teams. I watched them earlier in the year. They got the border war with U of I, and I always watched that game. It was a hell of a game. Illinois ended up winning it, but it was a slugfest. It was back and forth, and that's how these two teams play. Missouri and Kentucky. That game's going to be up and down the court. I could see that game going over, no problem. I like
Really?
Missouri
At 170? That's a lot. That's a lot of
dude.
points.
Well, Missouri's given up 85 or 90 in their last 4 out of their last 5 games. That's what they've given up. But Missouri can score too. They play up tempo like you cannot imagine. And they're going to be at home. They're going to have the crowd behind them. Everybody wants to beat Kentucky in the SEC, right? But
Right.
and then that game above it, St. John's and Marquette, that's going to be a slugfest there. And it's at Marquette. And that one there, Marquette's only laying 1.5. I really like Marquette. I like St. John's in the tournament. St. John's beat Marquette earlier this year in that matchup, but it was in New York. And Marquette was winning that game with like 5 or 6 minutes left in the game, and then they went scoreless. And St. John's ended up pulling that game out. But I like Marquette at home.
So you would bet that?
I would bet that. I'd take Marquette laying the one. I got them at 1.5. And that game's gone back and forth. It started at 1.5, Marquette. Then it went St. John's laying 1. Now it's back to Marquette laying 1.5. But
Okay.
like I said, I like Pitino in the tournament. I think St. John's is going to make a run in the tournament because defense travels, and that's what he coaches. It's
Okay.
90 feet of defense for everything he's ever coached, and he's fun to watch. But in this particular matchup, with Marquette being at home, wanting to avenge the loss they had out in New York, I like Marquette here.
Okay. I'm just going to fix our technical difficulty while I step aside for 1 second. Thank you.
Okay. So while you're watching this though,
Thank you.
what's going to be neat is if you watch these two games. I mean, they're both at 11 o'clock, but I mean, a lot of people got two TVs
Yeah, a
nowadays.
lot of people got the 2 TV setup now.
You're going to see two contrasting games. I mean, Marquette St. John's is going to be a defensive slugfest, fight for every basket, and Missouri and Kentucky is going to be back and forth. So two nice
Okay.
contrasting styles if you got them on TV.
Okay. I like the insight. I definitely do. So this thing is just stacked all day long. So you got a lot of top 25 games. I'm going to go to the game that I want to play, and I'm going to want to bet. So I'm going to take you inside that real quick. I'm going to go with my Badgers tomorrow, which is rare. We've had this conversation many a times. Let me find it on my sheet here. So right here we go. So Wisconsin laying, let's do this here. So Wisconsin, I got to share this part of the screen. So again, we are live. So we have to stop the one, get out of the one, go into the other. Boom. So share that. Okay, so here we go. So Wisconsin. So I like this game quite a bit. And the reason is because I just think Wisconsin's been playing a lot better, and they play really, really good as a team. And I just feel like Penn State is not. I'm basically going off how bad Penn State is. I just think Wisconsin at home, Kohl Center crowd. I think there's a lot here, and I think there's a lot of value in this play. And the other thing is they've got this guy Tanjay that's really come on as of late, and he can score. And this McGee kid, and they've got Stephen Crowell, and so they've got some guys that can play on the interior. They've got some good perimeter guys, and I do feel strong in this Wisconsin play at 11.5. So that's where I'm going to. Now again, we talk in units. During March Madness, Brad, we try to preach that money management is critical. We've got to make it through 4 to 5 weeks of this stuff. And you're playing Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. So if you're an inexperienced player, keep the budget under control. 1 unit is $25 for me when it comes to March Madness. So $25 is going to be what my play is here. And then we'll see how I do.
Yeah, like to your point there. I mean, just you gotta relax because it's big slates starting at 11 in the morning, and I mean you're gonna end up at 11 o'clock at night on them West Coast games. So you gotta pace yourself. Don't be afraid to ladder though. I mean, if you hit some early games and you like some in the afternoon, just keep laddering them. But don't. When I tell my son when he's laddering, I said, don't think, okay, I made some money on the first game. I'm going to put it all on the second one. If you make some on the first one, put a little one on the next one, then a little one on the next one. Then at the end of the day, if you end up 3-2 or something, you end up walking away with some money. But if you keep rolling it over, what happens if you go 3-3 or 2-3? Now you're down, you're in the hole. So don't do that to yourself, especially if you start the day at 11 o'clock with a winner. I mean, just take it easy into the next one, but start looking around. I mean, when you look at this slate, like when you're scrolling down on your screen, there is a lot of action there to look at and play. But you really,
I think there's 85 games tomorrow or 90 games tomorrow. Yeah. So,
and they're all I'm starting to matter now because you're getting down to teams trying to win the conference before they go into the conference tournament. So a lot of these games got a lot on them. They're looking for seeding for their conference tournaments. So it's not just a normal Saturday game early in the season. These games matter now from here on out.
Well, and speaking of that, we're going to go into the next game that matters a lot. So this is must-watch television to me. I mean, there's a lot of must-watch television tomorrow because the next one I have on the list, Brad, is Alabama-Auburn. I mean, 1-7, Alabama 27-3. Alabama 23-7, Auburn 27-3 on ESPN at 1:30. I mean, this game speaks for itself. And when we talk about points, 180 almost on the total. Oh my, holy smokes, man!
Alabama plays a lot. Now they get a little better record than Illinois, but Alabama plays similar to Illinois. If Alabama's going to shoot a lot of threes, and if they're hitting, they can can blow a team out. I'm not going to say they're going to blow Auburn out, but they could definitely beat Auburn at Auburn if they're hitting the threes. If they're not, Auburn could freaking choke them to death. So yeah, but it's a lot lying, and they're from the same state, so there's a lot lying on that game right there for sure.
Right. I mean, so and you got Mark Sears on Alabama who can just rip it up from three, and then you've got one of the players of the year in Jamari Broom, and that guy, I mean, he's insane. So let's establish this and get this out of the way now, because I will promise you this is going to come up as one more part of our show, at least when we get it closer to March Madness. Auburn is by far the oldest college basketball team in my lifetime. They have an average age of like 23.2 years of age. I'm like, that couldn't be possible. So I remember I sent that text. I started going through. I'm like, wait, this is accurate. The average age of the Oklahoma City Thunder is like 24 and a half years old. Auburn basically should be playing in the NBA. Jemiah Broom's like, I think he's 21, but there's been a lot of holdovers from that COVID year. So there's a couple guys that are like 23, 24, 25. I think they have like one or two 19-year-old kids on their team. I mean, these are grown men that are playing against 19 and 20-year-olds. It's just bizarre to me, but it's that COVID year holdover.
And I think this is the last year of that too. So we won't see this again. So this is this is an aberration. But Bruce Pearl knows how to coach, and he's got some older boys. That's why, I mean, they're the favorite to win the tournament. That's why they're ranked number one in the nation. If you watch them when they're firing on all cylinders, they're a tough beat. I'll tell you that.
But right, because they have Chad Baker-Mazara, he's good up top. You got Miles Kelly, Denver Jones. I think the oldest guy on the team. I mean, he should have an actual corporate job by now in his life, not playing college basketball. But anyways, must-watch TV. Alabama and Auburn should be a really exciting game. I don't want to bet it. I just think it's too many points, and I think there's other things you can do here. So I'm going to go into my next play really quick here. So, I mean, I don't know what the theme – I don't know why I'm stuck in the Big Ten, but I am. But so I'm taking the Badgers again at 11.5. So now I'm coming back here to the little bit later in the afternoon, 2:45 in the afternoon. We'll see how my Badgers do. I'm expecting a win. And Indiana has been a very hot Big Ten team as of late, kind of putting it together all at once. Ohio State relies basically on two guys. And if those two guys are not, if those two guys are off at all tomorrow, Indiana they could take them down by double digits tomorrow.
Yeah.
I like this Hoosier play at home. Indiana also still playing for quite a bit in my mind, Brad, because like they're right square in the middle of the bubble.
Indiana was highly ranked to start the season. I think they've got some of the highest NIL money on the roster. I mean, they spent all over the place, and they came out of the gate and shit the bed at the beginning of the year. And they were talking about firing their coach and players transferring, and they are starting to get it together. So they do have the talent to go on a run. And they have gotten hot here, but the right time of the year, right? Get hot now. I'd rather see it now than in November. But Indiana could be a sleeper team come tournament time. They got some talent on that roster. They just have taken all year long to try to gel. So you might have a nice little pick there because, like you said, Ohio State, if them two guys if they're not on, this could be a 10, 15-point blowout, to be honest with you.
Okay, and so here's the other thing that I was looking at. So this is it for Mike Woodson. Sorry, yeah. I mean, we got to go. Brad and I, again, this show's produced live. We don't have a producer. We run this show live, so I'm trying to run off one computer to this computer, looking up things. But this is it. Mike Woodson's done at the end of this. Yeah. It's his last game. His players have decided they're going to play for him and step up in support of him. That was the other reason I wanted this game. Because if you know your players have your coaches back in a time like this, especially knowing that they had been written off, like you said, at the beginning of the season when they absolutely were terrible, now I think here we are, and I think this is the perfect time to go ahead and lay a unit. If you win that Wisconsin game, I think you go ahead and go the 2-unit route. For me, if I get Wisconsin, this will be a 2-unit play at 50.
Good call. I like it. That's a solid pick, man. Indiana's a different – I mean, I think Illinois beat them by 40 at Indiana earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they were just shit all over themselves. But they're a different team now. And Ohio State, I'm not impressed with them at all. So, a good find there. I like that.
All right, and my last play is this because, again, we just said this is kind of an introduction to our March Madness show. So we wanted to throw a couple plays out there, tell you what games we were watching. I'm coming to this game right here. I've watched both of these teams play, Central Florida and West Virginia. I just think this is too many points, and that's all I'm going on. I just think 7.5 is too much here. I think Central Florida can keep this game within maybe 2 or 3, lose somewhere at the end. It's kind of an outlier. I just didn't find – I mean, there's so many games tomorrow. So this is why we're trying to kind of preach money management at this time of the season too, is tomorrow don't go crazy. Don't bust up your bankroll. Don't do it on Sunday. Give yourself some time into the conference tournaments. But those are kind of the 3 plays I had was Wisconsin at minus 11.5, Indiana minus 1.5, and UCF getting plus 7.5. What from another betting perspective, what else were you looking at?
Well, I like that Kentucky Missouri game. I like it to go over.
Okay.
So my two picks are I like Marquette laying the 1.5 at home, and I like that game, the Missouri Kentucky game, to go over.
Okay, so you're all the way up right here, all the way at the top again. Let's get back into that so we can.
I mean, and then the other thing is, I want to watch all 4 of these teams because I think any one of those 4 teams could make a decent run in the tournament. And these are the kind of the outliers you got to be watching for because everyone's going to be picking Auburn and Alabama and Michigan State because they're the big horse of the Big Ten. But that Missouri team is surprisingly good. And again, I'm not picking St. John's to win tomorrow, but I'd take a Rick Pitino team in the tournament any day of the week. You want to give me them? I'll ride them suckers all day long.
So who are you? Okay, so you're taking who between St. John's and Marquette?
I'm taking Marquette at home, laying 1.5.
Okay, you got 2.5 now, so somebody's been laying some money on that side, and you got Missouri at 5.5, correct?
I'll tell you, that game was 1.5 an hour and a half ago. So there you go.
I know.
So I'm saying 1.5 because when I put it down, it was 1.5. I realized it's
got
2.5 now.
Okay.
So.
And your Missouri 5.5, correct?
Well, yeah. I'm not taking Missouri. I'm taking the over.
That's right. Okay. Sorry. I've got 2. There's so much going. I'm trying to deal with the computer, trying to watch this. I'm losing. Okay. If you wanted to try to go parlay 25 for, 65, that's not bad on the return. I mean, again, we just use a dummy account to do this. So we're just thank you to FanDuel for allowing us to do this. So you're looking at, an opportunity to parlay something. You could try it that way. But again, Brad's Marquette, and sorry, he was the over. There's just a lot of, for some reason, I'm glad we decided to pilot this one tonight because I've had a few technical difficulties along the way. So, real quick though, I did want to get back into one other thing before we go is if we take a look, we've kind of broke down the games that you need to watch tomorrow and the bets that we've got heading into the weekend. But when you looked at where was it? There's a couple in the night slate. Okay, this was it. I mean, obviously we've got some Duke, North Carolina. This was another one. Hold on. This was the other one that I was like, okay, what? North Carolina is in an almost must-win situation here. Like they're not in the tournament as of now, and they're getting 10.5 points at home. And your face tells me you don't understand it either.
Well, the reason I don't understand it is because North Carolina has been so wanky this year, and it's not the North Carolina team that you're used to watching, but this is a North Carolina Duke matchup that, as we spoke in the past, this is North Carolina's Super Bowl right here with the year they're having. Mm-hmm. If they can pull this upset, it could go a long way towards punching their ticket, and they need it. They need it. And Duke's all high on themselves. They've been beating the shit out of some teams, but you know what? North Carolina ain't going to lay down on a North Carolina Duke game. You know that. There's going to be some guys that ain't been playing good all year that are going to have the game of the year right in this game. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't realize they're getting 10.5. Oh, yeah, there it is, 10.5. Wow.
I mean, that's what I mean is I love North Carolina here. Like, I really feel like here's the thing is I watched North Carolina the other night and I sent our buddy who lives out there a text that I was like, am I watching the same team I watched like 3-4 weeks ago? He's like, they've come a long way, man. He said, he's like, you got to be patient with some of these guys. And he had been telling me that. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's like Indiana. I was watching a whole different team. I'm 100%. If I'm on this UCF game, the Central Florida game, I'm kind of like, nah, I couldn't find a, but I love the Badgers. I like Indiana. If I can get both those, I'm going to go probably put all that down on North Carolina. If I win those two and get to here, this would be where, like you said, ladder up. This is where I'm going to not only ladder up, I'm going to batter up, because this is going to be the time tomorrow night when 5 o'clock rolls around, ESPN, and I've got exactly right. Couple cocktails.
Think about this. When is the last time? I mean, you'd have to do some research on this, but when is the last time in this matchup the home team has been a double-digit dog? I think about it. I mean, this is usually a freaking 2, 3, 4 point game. I don't care who's having a good year against these teams. They're blue bloods. They're usually both having a good year. But even when one program's having a down year, it's never a 10.5, 11-point game from a spread standpoint.
No, right. Yeah, so that's must watch, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a great game. I do think North Carolina can really keep it close, and so I love giving me 10.5 there. The last one I'm interested in, just to close out the show, is I'm kind of trying to figure out, where did it go? Okay, I'm trying to kind of figure out this Houston team. I don't know how much you've seen them play. I was kind of surprised. I get it. It's Baylor. Again, it's just one of these rivalry games to end the regular season. But, I mean, 26-4, but I'm trying to kind of figure out. I've watched Houston play enough, and I just don't think they've got some good guard play, but at times, like, it's just grind. I mean, look at the over-unders, 131.5. Like, they've got to grind it out to win these things. It's
that's because their defense is you just can't score on them. They're just that's how Kelvin Sampson coaches. That's how they've been. That's how they built that program there. They're tough to play against, man. That's why your over-under is so low. I mean, they are in your jock from the tip. You can't get an open shot. You better know how to box out. I mean, they're going to hit the glass. They are, like you said, they're just a tough team to play against. So they're hard to call because, Baylor, you could play a team that run and guns, but you play against Houston, it's like you stepped on a freaking a fly trap because you're going to be all glued up and sticky. I mean, it's just, I don't like how Houston plays, to be honest with you, but they're successful every year. They're ranked in the top 5 playing this way. So it is what it is. That game there, I don't even know if I would want to play it because
I don't know. I'm still not sure about. I don't know how to evaluate your analogies here. They're in your jock. I don't want anybody. I didn't want anybody in my jock back in the day, and this fly trap thing. I never want. I mean, it's disgusting. But that's the kind of basketball Houston has been playing for years, and I probably should just get used to it. And that's why I was thinking tomorrow night, I'm like, I'll probably be deep into this if there's one more game that catches my attention, one more team I want to watch, one more play I want to make. It's probably going to come on this game, but it would probably be one I do in the game. Like you can live bet now, right? And so we encourage people, if you don't have to have the action right away, study the game, take the first 10 minutes, figure out the flow. Is it going to be a fly trap game or is it going to be sped up a little bit more and it's going to go over the total? So, maybe decide to play it in game and play it live. It's the benefit here of living in Illinois. We get those kinds of opportunities.
Good call. I like that because what you can do is you can watch and see how Baylor reacts to Houston being up in their jock sniffing their nutsack. So if they're not responding well to that, then you play Houston. But if they maybe Baylor starts hitting a bunch of threes, and I don't know, that's a good in-game call. I like that. What's going on in the Atlantic?
All right. Well, I can tell you this. I mean, this is it. Where's the kid? I don't know. See, the TVs are run. This is why it's been rough tonight because the TVs are running like all over the place on me. But this Purdue team, I don't know. It reminds me of old though, like with the Zach Edey. I feel like they're going to go in as a 3 seed, and if they rely on one guy, and if he doesn't get it done, they're going to be out again in the first round. It's like the same team over and over for Purdue.
He's playing in the NBA next year. I take him on the Bulls right now. He's a hell of a point guard. I've been
Which
watching
one?
him. Huh?
Kaufman Ren?
No, the point guard for
Or,
Purdue.
yeah,
John
Smith?
Smith. The guy's a baller. I just like his game, man. I mean, there ain't enough good, true point guards in the NCAA tournament, or NCAAs, as I should say.
And
He
he's
is
legit.
he's a true point guard, man. You watch him; he gets them boys set up for a good shot every time down the court, or he nails a shot. I mean, he's just a good player. He's going to play in the NBA for sure.
Right. I mean, anytime Smith revs the engine, man, I mean, he's going right to the bucket. He's blow bying somebody, and it's, easy layup for that kid.
And he's kicking it to a wide open shooter. I mean, he's a good basketball player. I don't care what color his skin is.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Good. It is. But, I mean, this kid, what's going on here? You got a fight brewing? I mean, yeah. But it is. I mean, Braden Smith is. I mean, he's built for kind of the NBA, and he can get it done probably at the next level. But I just feel like Purdue's so reliant on this kid again, and I just feel like I'm watching the same sequel all over again. So,
Well,
all right, you got any final thoughts?
let's just they relied on one guy that went all the way to the championship game last year, so it worked out for him last year.
Oh, true.
My final thoughts are: I'm just excited for this time of year, man. I love it. I love it as we're right on the cusp of it. We got conference tournaments first. Those are kind of fun. You'll see some buzzer beaters, but there ain't nothing like that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that opening round, man. It is just glorious, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, well, we are looking forward to producing a lot. Yes, feed, just put it right in your veins.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are going to feed out a lot of content over March Madness. This was our initial show. It was supposed to take 20 minutes, took 30. But when the brackets come out, you can guarantee on Tuesday we will break down the Thursday games, and on Wednesday we will break down the Friday games. That's the schedule. We'll let the games finish up on each day, and then we will try to produce content for Saturday and Sunday going into the round of 32 before we get to the Sweet 16. So that's kind of the schedule. But we will be doing featuring the conference tournaments as well, because we feel like there's a lot of opportunity next Thursday and Friday. So we'll be pumping out a lot of content. So make sure you stay tuned to Let's Talk More Action.live. So for my co-host, Brad Shoulders, I'm Trevor Lutke. Stay away from the pressure this weekend, and we will see you all soon. Later.
Ciao.